Ancient documents reveal aliens created humans in the pyramids. That's not even fully true, but I'll just stop the interview when I have to type shit because I already got a download about Billy Carson last night that his information be like, yeah. Then I see this shit this morning. It was all divine timing, bro. I got y'all. And I fuck with Billy. I ain't gonna lie, bitches. All his shit is not true. I ain't gonna lie.
Welcome back to the True Geordie podcast. Today's guest is one of my favourite new content
some
creators.
fries.
Discovered Billy Carson recently after going down a rabbit hole. Billy, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. I'm glad to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
I really appreciate it. It's very rare that I get hooked on someone's content these days. I feel like I'm all contented out. But we recently had David Icke on, and it is funny how certain people's sort of opinions overlap. And David was talking about how the angels that we've been told about from being kids in school were actually aliens. And
yes and no. Fallen angels, those pretty much are aliens. However, there are literal aliens. Like, that is, I mean, there are literal angels. That is a thing.
And getting into your content and seeing how far down the rabbit hole you've gone and how intelligent and well-researched you are, it really brought it to life. And I'm just looking forward to my...
You see, Billy gets his information from, like, reading and stuff like that. I've read stuff and I've tapped in, and I've got confirmation on what I've tapped into. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why I feel like some of my shit can be more accurate than his shit, because his shit kind of does follow a certain negative agenda, which I'm gonna talk about. And I don't think he's conscious of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna talk about that shit later, though. I ain't gonna lie.
My audience reacting to what you've got to say, mate. So kind of, if you could start off by giving us a little bit about you and the research you've been doing and where you're at right now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, obviously, my name is Billy Carson. I'm the founder of Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4. It's not a gang sign, by the way. And you got to say that these days. Everybody, I got so many messages about are you a Mason? No, it's Forbidden Knowledge. But anyway, I was born in New York, 1971. We came down to Miami, Florida to live. I was outside in my backyard one day just playing around, flipping around in the grass, looking up at the sky, watching airplanes go over from the private airport.
I don't think he's a Mason, by the way. I just think that his Orion past life is kind of tainting the information, because he got some. If you can't tell, my man's been on Orion, bro. If you can't tell, I ain't gonna lie.
Object comes across, but it wasn't what I knew to be a plane. Even at the age of 7, I knew it didn't have a fuselage, a tail, a cockpit, and wings. Those are kind of the main, things you need for an airplane. And this thing cleared the horizon in my backyard. It went across in seconds, not minutes. A normal plane would just kind of go across, looking from our perspective on the ground, kind of slow. And even I knew as a kid, it went too fast. And I was like, whoa, what did I see? Then it came back and then it just stopped. Only now I can estimate about 200 meters above my head, completely silent. Almost a complete egg shape, but slightly less than an egg oval, glowing metal, and it went the way it came in. I mean, just blink, it's gone. And I ran in the house. I told my mom, she was just telling me, she said advanced beings existed in the ancient past. And she started telling me about Machu Picchu. She said they used to live on tops of mountains. This is in the 70s.
That's tough as fuck to have your mom tell you that shit. What, bro? That's hard as hell.
Wow. My mom told me this. And she didn't discourage me about the information whatsoever, but nobody else really wanted to talk about it. But the next day I went to my school, Rainbow Park Elementary, and I started researching from the Encyclopedia Britannica that day, all the aerospace information, swept wing, delta wing. I looked for ballistics, intercontinental ballistics. I mean, I went to everything. Experimental planes. They were even talking about back then in the 70s, the potential for the shuttle program back then. So I started digging into aerospace. I became kind of a quasi-aerospace historian. And that rabbit hole of looking into all these declassified types of aircraft just took me down a million rabbit holes over the years, which got me into studying, advanced technologies, of course, black budgeted technologies, which then took me into ancient civilizations, because in my opinion, some type of tech created those ancient sites, which led me down so many more rabbit holes into ancient tablets, inscriptions, papyrus, cylinder scrolls. I've now traveled the world over 30 times. I've been to...
By the way, I do want to say this too. Like I said, I think that Billy is for the light. I think that he's trying to do the right thing. And I think that his information is mostly it's accurate enough, but there are just some things. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get to that shit when he mentions that shit. I ain't gonna lie.
A lot of ancient sites and places, and met with indigenous wisdom keepers all around the world. Gone through over 1,000 books, papyruses, scriptures, cylinder scrolls, and ancient texts from everywhere you could think of. Spent countless hours out in the desert.
And that's the reason why. All that research, right? You got to do that shit, but also tap into yourself, bro, and into your soul, and tap into the information that you already have inside yourself. Because I was in Egypt, I was in a lot of these places, so I know exactly what the fuck happened. And then I'll get it confirmed by people who could channel that shit for me also. So it's like, I'm gonna make a video about the Emerald Tablets, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna talk about the truth about that bitch. I ain't gonna lie.
Walkabouts in the outback with aboriginals. I've done it all. And so I've been able to come up with a lot of my hypothesis and conclusion based on a lot of firsthand research and a lot of scholarly research.
Hypothesis based off research. You see what I'm saying?
Research as well that have happened over many decades.
I kind of want to start us off on what I've been reading and watching a lot of what you've been saying on about the aliens, the Anunnaki, and how much evidence there is in ancient history that really seems to have been not really talked about. I've been in history class and I've never heard anything about it, and I'm listening to you being like, how old is this stuff? Yeah. So maybe we can go down that avenue to start off with, and I think this interview can be a very kind of basic compared to how far you go, because I do want to touch on a lot of things that I've heard you talk about in a bit of detail, and then maybe part two can come and we can really go into it. But in terms of the information you've come across, the tablets and the scrolls and scriptures, how old is that? Like, do you know how old it is?
Yeah. Well, the tablets and scriptures and the oldest text we know of is around 40,000 years old max. Okay. That's the oldest text. We're talking about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. It's between 36 to 40,000 years old. And that might even be a copy from a much older tablet.
It actually is. So, Thoth stole the Emerald Tablets. Thoth is not who the fuck y'all think Thoth actually is. You see, the original Thoth isn't actually a being. It's a cosmic force that represents the intelligence of the universe, which we call all channel. Now, this being Thoth is some negative shit that I'll talk about either later in this interview. Well, probably in this interview and also in a separate video. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, the Emerald Tablets are actually kind of stolen. I'll talk more about that later in this video, I'm pretty sure.
But we do have an account of these beings that goes far beyond that. When you look at the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation, we discover that epic has been copied over and over again.
I'm pretty sure those are like Sumerian tablets. And by the way, beings have rewrote history on purpose through a lot of these tablets and these records. That's why his information will be a little bit like, because some negative aliens literally wrote the records and put in certain false shit to make false timelines and stuff like that, bro. Come on now, don't fuck with me. I'm a timekeeper who fights timeline threats. I know about this shit. Don't fucking play with me. And so do other people too. You can research it online and also tap into yourself and find it out for yourself. Yes.
The oldest version is approximately 6,500 years old. And we know that they're talking about something that happened prior to that writing approximately 450,000 years ago. So we're talking about deep antiquity, knowledge of super ancient information, super antiquity, so far back that we can't even really grasp that human beings could be advanced and that there could be.
If you want real information, go to the Halls of Amenti. Fuck all these books and shit like that. You can read that too, but also go to the Halls of Amenti, because you find out that, for example, in the Halls of Amenti, right, they have the Quran inside there, but it's not the same Quran as you have right now that you read physically. You know what I'm saying? So the whole different Quran inside that bitch. You know what I'm saying? It's actually like full of like real wisdom, not the shit. I mean, the Quran has real wisdom also, but it's also distorted as well. You know what I'm saying? The real Quran, well, not as in like the physical shit. That shit distorted. The shit in the Halls of Amenti in Egypt, that shit is valid. So go there, my nigga.
Beings visiting and so forth and so on. All this going on that far back.
And you mentioned Thoth, and I hear you referencing, I assume it's a hymn a lot. Can you tell me a bit about him and what sort of things he wrote down?
Yes, he's one of these ancient beings that I primarily wrote my book about. He wrote the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and those tablets are, like I said, 36 to 40,000 years old.
He did not write them. They were stolen from a more ancient text.
What's interesting about this being is he didn't claim to be a god. He never masqueraded as a god like the majority of his relatives, if you want to call them that, right?
The actual Thoth that wrote the Emerald Tablets, that is actually, right, you have a priest or like a human being, right, that channels the intelligence of the universe and then will write down certain information. That's how the real Thoth wrote the Emerald Tablets. Not because you have some fucking being that's actually named Thoth who wrote this shit down. No. Motherfuckers channeled a higher intelligence, the intelligence of the universe, and wrote shit down. That's what that action is supposed to really be.
And his consorts or his peers, these were advanced beings that had faces like you and I. Their body structure is slightly different, a little bit larger, a little bit different, but they are recognizable as a person that you can talk to and they can speak back. And he became known as the first intelligencer. He traveled around this entire planet, bringing knowledge, wisdom, civilization all around the planet, more specifically in the land of Kem or Kemet, where he developed alchemy and chemistry. Comes out of the land of Kem, which is pre-dynastic Egypt. And this guy literally is responsible, according to him, for the building of the Great Pyramid. He said, build it out of the Great.
Once a fucking again, it's not a being. Thoth is not an actual fucking being. The Great Pyramid was built by Egyptian priests and priestesses, me being one of them with the help of several others who used sound and vibration to literally make the shit rise from out the fucking ground. Yes, that's how the fuck it actually happened. There was not a fucking alien that came down and built this bitch. You know what I'm saying? Now the thing is, right? Beings, humans like us, like back then, priests and priestesses could channel the intelligence of the universe, you know what I'm saying? Which would deal with certain like Arcturians, Syrians, you know what I'm saying? Because they're a part of the intelligence of the universe, you know what I'm saying? So we would channel beings like that, and we learned shit from being in Sirius, in Arcturus. We learned a whole bunch of shit which dealt with how to fucking make a pyramid. And then we built the pyramids. So if you want to say aliens built them, it's really more advanced humans actually who built the fucking pyramids. That's what actually happened, okay? So when niggas say that Thoth built this shit, either aliens trying to lie to you, or it's symbology for how people who were in tune with the intelligence of the universe built the pyramids. Either it's symbolic or it's a complete lie. The lie is so that people could worship Thoth. You know what I'm saying? You never were supposed to worship. Like I made a video called "The Myth of Thoth and Hathor" on my YouTube. There's a whole playlist for that shit. Go there because you want to see what the fuck Thoth actually is. He's not an actual being. It's a representation of a certain force in the universe. You know what I'm saying? That we call all channel. You know what I'm saying? It's not a separate being who just did shit like this. Get the fuck out of here, son.
A pyramid so that it too might.
And it's not even Billy fault, because that's how it's portrayed nowadays. That Thoth is an actual being, but it's portrayed like that on purpose because certain beings want you to worship this Thoth being instead of unifying with it and understanding that it's a part of your fucking self.
At last, remain through the ages. So this guy is a real sophisticated architect. He's got the blueprints, and he tells his team to go around the planet and duplicate what they rebuilt in Kemet after the Great Flood. But he said that they were going to bring civilization back up to a high level, which means it had already been at a high level prior to the flood.
That's what Egyptian priests and priestesses did. I made a video called "How the Ancient Egyptians Finessed the Archons." Watch that video because this false history shit of a being named Thoth doing some shit. This deals with the fact. This is what the fuck I'm talking about in that video about how they have to finesse the Archons. You know what I'm saying? Because the Egyptian, the priests and priestesses, the actual advanced humans were the ones who said spread out and let's do all this shit. It wasn't a being who said, oh yeah, y'all guys. No, it was humans, advanced beings, advanced human beings who decided to do all this shit. There was never no higher power named Thoth that told niggas to do that shit. You know what I'm saying? We just channeled the intelligence of the universe. That's pretty much it.
Which the Sumerian tablets, the King's List, documents this, which is located in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England. So this guy's a wisdom keeper, super smart being.
And peep game, it was the timekeepers. You peep how I said the Egyptian timekeeper mission. If you watch the video about how the Egyptians finessed the Archons and stuff, like how we outsmarted the Archons, right? I told you it was an Egyptian timekeeper mission. Now Thoth is some wisdom keeper. No, nigga, it was real life human timekeepers who did this shit on Egypt so that we could actually store the knowledge in the halls of Amensi. The real shit I'ma bring to y'all instead of this shit that's not even fully Billy fault. It's the fact that he's reading certain shit that has been written down and it has been falsified on purpose. And he's reading that shit thinking that it's complete fact and not seeing fully beyond it and stuff like that. It's not fully his fault, you know what I'm saying?
Who claims to have even conquered death through knowing how to create avatar bodies and transfer his consciousness from body to body. He said so he can walk among
And that's what Egyptian priests and priestesses did with the presence of immortality. It wasn't just a being named Thoth who did that. No, like I said, it was us, advanced human beings.
Men, but unlike a man.
Wow. Okay. So you're a smart dude, bro. I'm going to try and keep up with you. So when you talk about, he didn't claim to be a god, for example. Yeah. And it kind of, I think you described this in one of your interviews I watched, where you said, like, if you think about it, if we went back in time now from the version of us that we are now, even a couple of thousand years ago, and we have phones and knowledge and a lot of the things that they didn't have back then, we could pose as gods if we wanted to. So
Aleister Crowley talks to Thoth, by the way. Aleister fucking Crowley. That should really think about it. Aleister Crowley talks to fucking Thoth. Think about that.
So when you say he chose not to, he wasn't really a quote-unquote god, but he wasn't of the same origins as human. He was something else.
Yes, he was something else. These people came from other planets, and record of this can be discovered all over the world. You have the Dogon tribe, the original inhabitants of the land of Kemet before they got overthrown and moved out to Mali, Africa. But the Dogon tribe, they talk about the Nommo coming from the star system Sirius, right? Sirius B, which is a star that ran out of fuel. These beings created a breakaway civilization here on Earth. You have the Zulu tribe.
That is true. But understand that humans were already on the planet and aliens upgraded their DNA. They did not make humans, but they try to tell you that shit on purpose. The aliens that want to control you tell you, hey, we made you. No, nigga. We have at least 22 different alien genes inside of ourselves, and probably even more, my nigga. The Earth is a whole experiment where several aliens put their DNA inside the Earth to help with humans. So there are original human beings that just got upgraded with alien DNA. They weren't made by aliens completely, no.
Same exact story. Then you have the indigenous people of the Americas, the Red Man, right? He's talking about the same thing. Our star brothers, they seeded us on this planet. They seeded us. According to them, the indigenous Native Americans, they were seeded here by Pleiadians. Then what's crazy is I go to Australia. I'm out in the outback with the Aboriginals. They have the same exact story. We're the first people on this planet, they say, and their verbal handed down history for thousands of years is that they were seeded on this planet by Pleiadians. And there's Pleiadian hieroglyphs in the outback at Carryong.
Pleiadians did help to see humans. That is true.
Which nobody on the planet has been able to decipher yet. And they date back 5,000 years because of the patina inside of the glyphs that's been dated back to 5,000 years, verified. So we know that there's this story going on no matter what culture you.
And by the way, when you see the planet and you see the beings, you don't make the being. Think about it like this. Like seed as in like a man's semen, right? Imagine I bust inside the earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, my DNA is now inside the earth to make certain beings, but the earth still has to form it as natural beings. You know what I'm saying? So it's like aliens pretty much busted inside the earth. You know what I'm saying? Then help hella beings get made and stuff like that.
You go to around the world, you can go to the Urals of, Russia and Europe, and you can go to Bosnia and the Bosnian pyramid area. The stories just are the same exact stories. Beings from somewhere else came here. According to the ancient Egyptians, they say the Nitiru came here. They call them the Nitiru, and it's Thoth. They depict them on the Edfu temple. Thoth, Isis, Horus, Osiris, and those beings, they claim, came at the time of Zep Tepi. That's the beginning times, and they said they turned mud into a kingdom. And
Neteru are not aliens. They are cosmic forces. Neteru are just different aspects of nature and different aspects of the universe. They are not aliens. No. Okay?
Of course, the Sumerians have the same exact.
Like Ra is a Neteru. And Ra represents your spirit, literally. You know what I'm saying? He's not a fucking alien.
Story in the Sumerian.
However, you can't have aliens who act like they're certain beings. Oh yeah, I'm Thoth. Oh yeah, I'm Ra. Worship me. Fuck out of here.
Sumerian tablets, in the Atrahasis epic, in the Enuma Elish, and so many more. You can read the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita. All these texts are telling you the same story. People from somewhere else, and I do mean people, not little green men with little antenna, people that we can identify as a person that we can speak to back and forth and learn from. They engaged us in some way, shape, or form, and they came to this planet and created a breakaway civilization. And why? My research tells me that there was a war that happened in the Pleiades. And I'm covering this in my new TV series, Anunnaki History, which is coming out next year. And so this war created a situation where a weapon was used called the Brahmahanda weapon, which had the power to destroy any man on 3 worlds. It was blowing up planets. It was blowing up moons. Imagine if Mars blew up right now. On Earth, we'd be really scared because of debris that can come and create a cataclysmic event. People became space refugees. And this is my personal hypothesis now. Now I'm going to my hypothesis mode, that they left those areas and those regions and went into new sectors to create breakaway civilizations, kind of a fresh start, and Earth was one of them.
And I've seen you kind of looking at satellite images from...
That's kind of true. Like I said, Earth already had beings on it, right? Now, when Lyra was destroyed, Lyrans did come to Earth as like a recovery base and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Now, Earth in and of itself is like a huge ass experiment. Like I said, we have over 22 alien genes, at least 22 alien genes. You know what I'm saying? From several civilizations, right? Anunnaki did come down and upgrade human genes, yes. However, you do have negative aliens who want to control humans, and they're doing it by saying, "Hey, we're your gods. We created you," and stuff like that. No.
Other planets where...
And that's why after the Sumerian Egypt invasion, history started getting rewritten and stuff like that to be based off the Sumerian tablets of Anunnaki came down and made humans on. No, that Anunnaki story, my nigga, the main Anunnaki story is actually false and is used by negative Anunnaki, negative reptilians, all the other negative aliens to control humans, literally, bro. Because that's not the original story before, my nigga. Okay? The Egyptians don't say that Anunnaki came down and fucking made us. That's not what the fuck they say.
You look at, in detail, unusual structures, for example.
But of course, the Sumerians invaded Egypt, and now we're going off the Sumerian creation story? We're taking the story of the people who invaded the Egyptians? Maybe they were made by aliens to fuck up the Egyptians. Wait till I really get into this. Man, I'm gonna be telling y'all so much fucking shit that I know about, bro. By the time y'all see this video, I know way more shit. Y'all seeing this shit like a week after it got recorded, bro. Okay, so nigga, understand that there's a lot of shit that, man, just wait, bro.
But have you? I mean, I've heard from David Icke him saying the word Nibiru was a possible planet they came from. Do you have an idea of where these people came from?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Nibiru and Anunnaki are 2 terms that people say don't exist, but they're mentioned in the Enuma Elish. So we know those terms and those words are real words, but some of them came from Sirius star system, some came from the Pleiades, some came from Aldebaran, some came from the Epsilon
He is spitting facts. That is true.
Boötis constellation. So there was a varying different array of planets that these people all came from. When they spread out from the Pleiades, they literally populated many stars. They actually have the power to travel from star to star, something that we're supposed to be able to do now, but with all the suppression and oppression, we haven't been able to get there. But so we're talking about a multiracial, multi-planetary species that created an Atlantean civilization. That's the name. They are all Anunnaki, because that means from those from heaven came to earth. But they created an Atlantean civilization.
You can say that. You can't say that alien beings did help with Atlantis, but you can't see Anunnaki, right? There are actual beings that you can call Anunnaki. They look like black men with dreads. They did not make Atlantis. Okay? Atlantis was made with the help of like Lyrans and fuck there's Syrians there too, and you know what I'm saying? So Anunnaki in the sense of beings that come from the sky, okay, you could say that because Syrians help with that shit, you know what I'm saying? And some other beings help with the fucking Atlantean shit, you know what I'm saying? However, the Anunnaki, as in the black men with dreads who were all over the fucking place, you know what I'm saying? No. It was not just those beings who helped with Atlantis. No, my nigga. It's several different aliens. You know what I'm saying?
On Earth. And Earth was Atlantis, not just a ring city in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
That was just one capital of dozens that existed, but the entire planet itself was Atlantis. And I believe Atlantis was, even in this solar system, an interplanetary civilization as well.
It was.
Yeah, so when people say, where did Atlantis go? We're on it, essentially.
We're on it. We're all standing and sitting on it right now.
That's only partially true. I don't know how I would explain that though.
And how advanced, if we were to put a time frame on it, much more advanced technologically were they than us right now?
Well, if you look at where we are right now as a species, they were approximately 1 million years ahead of us, which is a big number.
Wow.
And the reason why I calculate this and how I come up with this is a hypothesis. This is not stated in any record. But when you look at the fact that we're talking about approximately 450,000 years ago, they arrived initially, the first pantheon. The pantheon doesn't come out of Greece, and the pantheon was a Sumerian pantheon. And that first pantheon arrived, you're talking about 450,000. Now, they worked and labored themselves for 250,000 years without interacting or engaging the existing hominid on the planet, which was actually our cousins before we were Homo sapiens sapien. They didn't engage in genetic manipulation until about 200,000 years ago, which geneticists can align with that. Their statements in their peer-reviewed documents can align that chromosome number 2 was taken out and fused together, and telomere caps were put on them approximately 200,000 years ago. And geneticists and universities are saying that was an artificial mutation. Well, the Sumerian records are telling us exactly how it happened. These people did it to us to create Homo sapiens sapien and make us into the workers so they can stop working. It was a big war that was going to happen. There was a coup that was going to happen in the Atrahasis. And they said, no, we'll get these beings to do the work for us. And that's when the genetic manipulation happened. But so 450,000 years, they've already traveled from star to star to star.
Pretty much. That part is pretty much true. You know what I'm saying? The black men with dreads did upgrade human genes. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you have the black men that we have now.
Star. That means they had been.
But way back then, it was probably a bit different. You know what I'm saying? Like the humans that we are now are different than the ones we were back then. You know what I'm saying? Even when we got upgraded and stuff like that.
Super advanced for a very, very long time. The technology that they had back then, at 200,000, 450,000 years ago, we aren't even close to cracking that code. We still have no clue. We only have 10,000 hypotheses about how the pyramid was built. We still flying around in planes that are using fossil fuel. We got cars on fossil fuel, trying to go to hydrogen now because EVs are no good. But we're not even close. We're not even in the vicinity. They had mastered the ability to combine spirituality with technology. So they took spiritual essence, which is the power of conscious thought, and they were able to now mix that with technology, giving them an unbelievable array of different types of quote unquote powers that to us were godlike. And so we're not even close to that level.
So just to break it down into layman's terms for people who've been, we've all heard Darwin's theory of evolution at school, for example. How would you say the real story goes as opposed to that?
Yeah, as opposed to Darwin, which Darwin actually admitted himself that he didn't fully believe in his own theory before he died. So it's a fact, but they never say that little extra part at the end in college, right? But what we're talking about here is an advanced.
That is kind of crazy, I ain't gonna lie.
Trace of beings that came to this planet at the time where mankind, of a different version of us, still looked the same, probably bigger bones, bigger jaws. We found much bigger skulls around this entire planet. So we know that we look different, probably much smarter spiritually and consciously. But nonetheless, we were here. And then at some point, this war was going to happen in South Africa at a place called Adam's Calendar. And an agreement was made to add their essence to the existing being here, which was our cousin. So they genetically modified us. And then from there, we became the worker. So they tried at first this cloning technique, which I took people to see the evidence of this cloning at the Kamambo and the Karnak temple. So they can see evidence in the walls of hieroglyphs, the cloning technique. Temple of Hathor, where they had the birthing houses for the clones. The problem that they had with the cloning techniques was, according to the text, these beings couldn't replicate on their own. It was too much labor, again, just to try to create a population of workers. So Isis says, you know what? I've had it. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to take the baby to term myself. And so she takes an egg from an existing hominid. She adds their essence to that egg.
Isis did not do that. Isis represents the wisdom of your soul. You know what I'm saying? If a being says, hey, I'm Isis, that's not actually Isis. But I get what pretty much aliens are acting like they're fucking certain deities and stuff like that, okay? That's a fact.
puts it in her own womb. Now we're talking about now scientifically something called a zygote, or we're talking about in vitro fertilization back then. She takes the baby to term for 10 months, and there's a famous cylinder scroll in the British Museum with her holding up the baby. She calls it the Adamu, which means first man. And she's saying, my hands have created it. That was the first genetically modified version of perfection for a self-replicating human being. Homo sapiens sapien was now born. And then this is where you get in the Bible, Genesis, the generations of Isis, Genesis, right?
Ah.
And so that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
And so
Adamu
she tried
is
to make
Adam, as in Adam and Eve, right?
Yes, Adam and Eve, right?
Yeah.
So exactly. Now, when Adam was born, there were already hundreds of thousands of people on the planet, maybe even more than that. And so he wasn't the first man. You can't get 8 billion people from 2 people. And if anybody doesn't believe that, just start mating your son and daughter with each other and see how many generations you can get out of that before a one-eyed crippled person comes out, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be like, okay, wait a minute, not enough genetic diversity. 2 people can't create 8 billion. So they started mating him with these clones. The clones still couldn't get pregnant. So then they said, okay, we got to take a sample. So they took a sample of DNA from him, created Eve, mated them. Bingo, it worked. Adam and Eve weren't the first ones. So they said, now we got to make a whole slew of these people. So they started doing that, making these, in the Hathor birthing houses, they started giving birth to Adamus and Eves. And then now they're growing them up, and now they're mating them together. They're creating genetic diversity, and they're creating a population of people that can replicate on their own. The evidence of this is when Cain kills Abel, God comes back. It's actually Yahweh, which is actually Enlil from the Sumerian tablets. And he says, what's going on here? Now, you're God. You should already know what's going on here. Mm-hmm. But he obviously kills his brother out of jealousy. He kicks him out of the garden. And Cain says, the people out there will kill me. Well, what people? There shouldn't be anybody out there. And then God says, don't worry, I put a mark on your head so they'll know. I'm going to brand you so they'll know you, my boy. Nobody's going to touch you, so don't worry about it. And when you get out there, by the way, the Bible says you'll find a wife. See, so there was people, many, 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 many people living outside, and he goes off to start the whole Canaanites. But there's many people living before Adam and Eve, but still the religion still pushed. Came out of two people comes the entire population, which is fake news.
So these people who were here before, who are basically relatives to what we are now, who created them, I guess, and how did they get here? Are they just animals?
And that's a great question. You see, these people mentioned several times in the tablets that what they had done here, they knew was wrong. They were operating like, the old Wild Wild West, that they were doing things that were, according to them, forget the exact terminology, but they were saying that their laws from where they had come from, like they were violating those laws. They said they will have to answer to the creator of all. And they say this a couple times in some of these tablets. So that means from their perspective, there is somebody that created all, and they're aware of this. So even though they masqueraded as gods and pretended to be God and, Satan, the Lord of Eden, that's actually Enlil, who becomes Yahweh in the modern day Bible. These people acted as gods and pretended to be gods and made the people worship them and bring them all the offerings were so they can have food to eat. These people weren't going to go hunting anywhere. Bring me your vegetables and fruits and bring me that damn lamb because I'm hungry.
That actually is facts though. Like the old in the Old Testament, right? You literally give a sacrificial lamb to God to absolve your sins. Nigga, the lamb is so that way the fucking being that's saying I'm God, and so that way that motherfucker could eat.
I'm saying
literally.
Yeah.
And so
but then that shit, so you do actually have like what he said is in the sense of like you have alien beings who do want the humans to work for them and get shit for them. That's a thing too.
This is why there's storehouses for all the offerings at all these ancient temples that I go visit, because they would actually dump all that food in there, and then these people would get, the priests would cook the food for these fake gods. But so that's what's going on. That's what happened.
The more I've looked into it, the more
you also have like you have, besides aliens, you also have spirits that take the spiritual essence of the food, especially if it's blood. Yeah, like demonic beings and spirits will take the essence of the blood. You know what I'm saying? And they like feed off that shit.
more it seems a bit more likely than water into wine and some of the other stories in the Bible.
Yeah.
And in terms of the powers that we've had, we've got this version of human and the previous version of human. Do you think we've ever had been more powerful, almost to a supernatural level
Yeah, that's how he built the pyramids, my guy. It wasn't aliens.
of ability.
Oh, I really do believe that. I believe that we're the, I don't like to use the word dumbed down, but we're the version that's got to find itself. No,
That is true.
it's still in us. Well, we've got to now tap back into what we already had in ancient times. I believe that our cousins were tapped in deeper spiritually, probably can communicate with telepathy, right? Probably had a lot more psychic abilities, deeper.
That's the Lemurians, yeah. The original beings, which were Lemurians, they were pretty psychic and spiritually in tune.
Empathic abilities. Also, and right now, human beings, Homo sapien, we have billions of magnetite crystals.
Now, I understand that the original beings got a DNA upgrade that was good. Then you have even more genetic. You have even more genetic manipulation that I'm not gonna mention inside this video, bro. We're going to that's some shit that people do not want to talk about, bro. Because boy, oh boy, when I get there, whew.
In our brains, and we don't even sense that they're there. But they took a human being.
Because you have Anunnaki, like original Anunnaki that manipulated humans and stuff like that, and upgraded DNA and stuff like that. Then you have like reptilian Anunnaki and other hybrid beings that came like later. You know what I'm saying? And whew, man, look.
Put him in a room with a giant bar magnet, put sensors on his head, connected it to a computer, and when they move the bar magnet, the crystals reorient to the magnetic field. So we should still, hypothetically, be able to navigate by the Earth's magnetic field like turtles and birds and everything else. But we've been so disconnected from that, natural ability that we think is something special when somebody has these innate abilities. We think, oh man, they're special. They got gifts. No, we all have gifts. We just forgot how to open our packages, and all of the stuff that they had, we're supposed to be able to tap into as well. We have now junk DNA, which is not junk. Scientists are just now finding out that really acts on the body and activates and turns off and on genes. So now they're trying to figure out, well, what genes does it turn off and turn on, and how do we get that back activated again? So we kind of really been disconnected from who we truly are. We have the power in us because it's talked about in the myth of Adapa, which is an ancient tablet, that we were created even greater than the Anunnaki themselves, but that we would have to go on a hero's journey of self-discovery to get back to it.
That is actually true. In the sense of like, you hear how in Gnosticism, right, that archons made the body? Yet the archons were so dumb that they made a being that was more powerful than themselves. That fucking idiots.
So how's this memory reset taking place? Like, how have we forgotten so?
Yeah, this memory reset is very important because that's why some of this false information is able to get out here now, my nigga, because we forgot what the fuck actually happened.
Much of this.
Great question. When you begin to oppress and suppress people's knowledge and their history, it robs the future generation of the information. So the best way to steal the knowledge of who somebody really is to continuously change their information. You look at the Tower of Babel incident where Yahweh comes back, who's actually Enlil, and he sees that human beings are building this tower into heaven, duplicating a tower that's called a Du-Ran-Ki that the Anunnaki had built. They duplicated it. And he goes, oh my goodness, whatever they set their hearts to, they can achieve it. He said, wow, this is too powerful. My seed shall not abide in man forever. His year shall be 120. So the first thing he did was he genetically modified chromosome number 2 and knocked this down to 120-year max. What does Harvard scientists say the maximum lifespan of a human being? 120 years under pristine conditions. The next thing he did was he's divided people and separated and confused our languages. Now, I don't know. I can't talk to Jesus. Jesus can't talk to Wang Di. Wang Di can't talk. You know what I'm saying? So now all of a sudden we get all these different races and languages going on and we can't really communicate. So we can't collaborate. Our lifespans are short, but by the time we wake up.
By the way, the beings that did this shit to humans are not the same ones who upgraded the DNA way back when. Like, I mean, they may be like, okay, so they could both be Anunnaki, but they're not the same kind in the sense of like they're probably reptilian Anunnaki hybrids or simply just more negatively based Anunnaki. And also, I ain't gonna lie, bro, you have beings who were on the earth, as in like humans type shit, who made other humans type shit. We gonna talk about that later though. I ain't gonna lie.
Up, it's time to die, and we go right back into the cycle and start all over again. So they found a way to do that, and then to keep covering up the ancient history, keep covering up the real truth about who we are and where we came from. And after generation, it becomes a civilization of just people walking around with amnesia, right? Like Graham Hancock says.
Yeah, and Graham Hancock particularly points to the great cataclysms as part of the reason as well of this reset that happened where we're all sort of 1 minute, advanced civilization and then right back to square one and starting again. And do you feel like that's part of the reason too?
That's also a part of the reason. You look at the Younger Dryas incident, right? So you have the Younger Dryas. You're talking about right around the Ice Age. So now we're going back 12, 13,000 years. All of a sudden, this gigantic asteroid crashes in to the Earth right above Syria, and all this ice melt happens, and all this ice turns into water. Now you've got a regional, globalized flood, not a global flood, but a regional flood in a part of the globe, coming all the way down, even out through Egypt, where the Sphinx is, and the evidence of this Younger Dryas is in the Sphinx enclosure, where you can clearly see the water damage. You can see how much water has passed through on the walls of the enclosure, and you can almost tell how many years it's taken for that erosion to happen. You're talking about right around the same time as the Younger Dryas incident. And so we're talking about a situation where we have physical evidence that this water flowed down from this Younger Dryas and flooded out the entire region there where the Great Sphinx is located at Giza. And it's clear evidence that the Sphinx is not 4,000 or 5,000 years old. Because if it was, how did this water damage happen to a man-made built enclosure that predates the Ice Age?
That is facts. The Sphinx, I don't know what the fuck the Sphinx is, but the Sphinx is very important when it comes to the halls of Amenti and the halls of all the records and stuff like that. It's very old.
Talking about this Sphinx is,
and it was built by advanced humans.
Much older, and again, more evidence that the history books are not accurate.
Yeah, that sort of brings us on to the pyramids, which I've always been fascinated by and always found very difficult to understand how they were built by the people. Even in school when I was 8 years old, I was like, this doesn't, okay.
They were built by you just don't understand because you think that a nigga like you made that shit. A nigga like you and Billy did not make that shit. You know what I'm saying? It was more advanced human beings that understood how to fucking use sound and frequency to manipulate the structure of the earth to eventually make pyramids appear. Yes.
But you said there's water damage there. So do you know roughly what we can date the water damage to?
Yeah, roughly around 12 to 13,000 years. And that's coming from a professor. And
it's even older than that. The Sphinx is older than that. You know what I'm saying? It's way older than that.
Geologist Dr. Robert Schoch. We're talking about a person who's still teaching in college, right?
They said the Sphinx is 4,000 or 5,000, right? It's they try to save it for the water damage, right? Nigga, if it's 4,000 or 5,000, that probably means 40,000, 50,000, my nigga, at least. Fuck you talking about?
Now, a real geologist that went to the university for that particular field that's looking at this and saying, no, this evidence is pointing to here, and has taken samples and everything. And because of his dating of the age of this and being very vocal about it, he's pretty much banned from going back to Egypt.
And when it comes to the pyramids,
well, damn.
I mean,
what the fuck?
Hancock did a great job of explaining how unexplainable from his point of view it is that such massive heavy stones would be up so high, and he famously said if that was a ramp, you need a fucking big ramp and it'd still be there. This
wasn't no goddamn ramp, it was just making the fucking pyramid appear from out the ground
there. So you and I know that you've set up tours for the pyramids and you've got such an interest in that. So what is your opinion of who built them, how they were built, and all of that?
Wow, the pyramid, first of all, when you stand next to the Great Pyramid, time slows down because it's a time dilation bubble. They knew all of this stuff.
Oh, yeah? I did not know that, Mr. Billy. I can't wait to go to the Great Pyramid, I ain't gonna lie.
I mean, the Great Pyramid itself is a gigantic, multifunctional stone computer and power generator.
You can kind of say that, yes.
It's got multiple functions. Facts. And so when you begin to analyze it as a technological device, not as a monument, all of a sudden, all these question marks start popping up. And when you begin to start looking for answers to those question marks and start studying engineering books, you start to see that we're looking at a real machine,
Facts.
real machine.
Facts.
And it's so ingenious how they built this. there's a couple ways that it could happen. First of all, it never was a mud ramp. Mud ramps is a complete farce because you would need more mass than the pyramid in mud.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
right. You're not going to and when you stand next to these megalithic blocks, you're going to realize you can't put them on top of tree logs. You got to go get the tree logs from Turkey and bring them all the way down to Egypt, and then you got to get these stones and put them.
Who the fuck made these theories, bro?
Them on top and roll them in the sand. I mean, come on. More ridiculous.
Like, I could see why niggas said, oh, aliens did it, because, nigga, that's more plausible than fucking mud ramps and fucking tree. What the fuck is niggas talking about?
Because the more asinine it begins to sound. But when you start to look at some of the writings and you hear that Thoth talks about a couple different things. First, there was a quarry that they used to harvest some of these stones. And you can see that, and you can witness it, you can go there and see that. They obviously had some type of gravity control system which alters the atomic structure or the orientation of.
You know, I will say this. Actually, Egyptians did levitate bricks. That actually is a thing, but no.
Sorry, of the atoms in the stone to get it to be extremely light. Not weightless, but much lighter. That's number one. Number two, Thoth talks about combining photons or light, he says light, with frequency, cymatic frequencies. Now,
that right there.
Oh, that sounds like, magic. But 2 years ago, in a university in Europe, two scientists got together, and for the first time, they used photons and vibrations to create solid matter. So we're just now rediscovering.
See what I'm saying? Frequency, vibration, and sound was used to make the pyramids.
What already happened in ancient times. So some of these stones are manifested, as Thoth says, through light waves and frequencies. And
yes. Thank you, bro. Fucking thank you.
Some are harvested, depending on the usage and what was being done.
There we go. Okay. I'm happy you said this. I'm like, it wasn't just levitating bricks or the guy. Like, motherfuckers did levitate bricks and manipulate the weight of the bricks, stuff like that. But nah, nigga. When I see pyramids get made, my nigga, that shit is manifesting out of frequency, sound, and vibration.
Another thing that's interesting is if you look at the construction of the Great Pyramid, you begin to realize that it's also an astronomical timepiece. And what it does is it breaks down the distance from the Earth to the moon, the distance from the Earth to the sun, the circumference of the sun, the circumference of the Earth. It's also a scaled down model of Earth itself. If you scale it up 43,200 times, it fits inside the Earth perfectly and touches all corners.
Wow.
And it also,
I did not know that.
By calculating the stones, it can give you the days in the year, the tropical year, the sidereal year.
God damn, fucking him up bad.
It can give you the speed of our sun around the Milky Way galaxy.
Ew, what the fuck? I did not know that.
And even the speed of our galaxy around the local clusters.
What the fuck?
And when you analyze Giza from above, you realize that it's a star chart of the inner solar system planets. Okay, so you're talking about Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars with the sun in the middle. And then also you begin to realize, man, wait.
Nah, you just don't talk about. See, Billy do know what he's talking about with some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like this shit is. I ain't know this shit. I ain't gonna lie.
I mean, what's going on here? This thing really is giving you the average height of every peak on Earth. The average height. To do that today, we would need a satellite orbiting in a polar orbit. As the Earth spins on its axis, we would be scanning and taking topographical data, stitching it together, sending it into a computer. That computer will now count all the peaks and then divide them to get the average height. Now, that means they had some type of satellite.
I didn't know what the fuck he just said. You saw him, bro.
The peaks and then divide them to get the average height. Now, that means they had some type of satellite technology, and then they incorporated all of that into the Great Pyramid. So we're talking about a super advanced race of space-faring people, not people that were slaves and all this other, chicken bones and copper chisels, all this crazy elephants with tree log rollers and mud. That's all a farce.
Yeah, and it's funny because I know people who've actually just been in the pyramid and inside just for a tour and said it feels like you're in a machine. It doesn't feel like you're in an object that was designed to have tour guides take you through. Like they literally had to force stairs there, and it's not comfortable, and it isn't made for that. It clearly is, So what do you make of the fact that like the Egyptians themselves, who kind of moved in, so to speak, have then kind of etched their signature on someone else's work? And apparently,
don't you fucking say that. Don't you fucking say that. We ain't just fucking walk inside that bitch. Oh, the temples and pyramids are just gonna put out. No, nigga, we built that shit, nigga. Advanced human beings who understand how to fucking use sound, frequency, and vibration built that shit. Not no fucking alien. We ain't just walk inside that bitch and put our shit on. Get the fuck out of here, True Gordy. That shit just made me mad. I ain't gonna lie.
Currently, they've redone the faces on the Sphinx and stuff. Like, do you think that they are taking credit?
Oh, you mean those Egyptians? Like not the ancients, but like these new motherfuckers. Okay, yeah, that shit get me tight. I ain't gonna lie.
For what came before?
No doubt about it. The dynastic Egyptians inherited what was already there.
Okay, yeah, he's saying the dynastic ones. Okay, cool. So I was about to say, I think that the originals. Fuck out of here, nah.
The Mayan culture inherited what was already there. The Aztecs,
That's actually true.
who came later than the Mayans, inherited what was already there and left
That I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it is, but I can't say if it is or isn't.
behind by the Mayans, who found what was left behind by the Teotihuacans, which means the city of Tahuti, which means the city of Thoth in Mesoamerica. So
That's true. Tahuti is thought. So yeah.
all these cultures inherited existing ancient megalithic structures and advanced cities that were left behind after this thing called the Second Pyramid War, where they released weapons that they called weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, that were hidden in the mountain and were forbidden to be used based on what had happened on their home planet in their ancient times. Somebody smuggled them to this planet when they evacuated and
Niggas smuggling alien guns and shit.
hit them in the mountain, and eventually a future generation, offspring of that person, decided to use them in a war. And they created something called the evil wind, which swept across the land and killed the black-faced people. It says that's the exact term. It says the black-faced people died, the animals died, people's hair and nails were falling out, eyes were bleeding.
I didn't even know this shit.
Talking about radiation poisoning. You're talking about radiation sickness. So we're talking about evidence of an ancient war that happened. So it all comes together. It all begins to make a lot of sense when you start looking at all these little facts and piecing all the puzzle together. You see what really happened in the ancient past.
I think the hardest thing for just regular people like myself to wrap my head around is we automatically think we are here now, therefore we must be the most advanced thing that's ever existed. And just to sort of forget that is the healthiest way to sort of digest this information. And I've seen you talking about some of those structures around the pyramids, and that looked like launch pads. Yeah, and that was quite a fascinating thing as well. And so just so I'm clear, you think that the Anunnaki specifically are responsible for the pyramids?
Yeah, I think that the Anunnaki specifically, who are actually the Atlantean culture, are responsible for the pyramids and the Animal Tab.
There is some you can't kind of say the Atlantean culture, because it's kind of like the humans that were in Atlantis were kind of like the ones that built the pyramids. So it's like you can kind of say that. You can't say that, you know what I'm saying? The human bodies back then were way more Anunnaki based, you know what I'm saying? So you definitely could say that. That you could say, but it's still technically humans though. Just more advanced humans.
Thoth comes to the land of Kemet.
Fucking Thoth.
He lands his ship. He descends from the sky down near an ancient temple that's coming up out of the mud. So it's not a ship that's sailing on the ocean, clearly. I mean, it's very...
Did it just say a temple coming out of the mud? Didn't I just tell y'all motherfuckers that the pyramids came from out the ground? Come on, nigga, I'm not lying to you niggas. I didn't read that shit. Nigga, I could see it in my head from when I did the shit.
He lands his ship. He descends from the sky down near an ancient temple that's coming up out of the mud.
Nigga, I literally told y'all this shit. That the pyramids came from out the ground using frequency, sound, and vibration, my nigga. Come on. Y'all niggas think I'm lying? The fuck?
So it's not a ship that's sailing on the ocean, clearly. I mean, it's very clear. Then his crew that he took with him come there to help him rebuild the land of Kem. They said they stayed there for a time and time again. So they stayed there for a very long time to rebuild. Once they got it rebuilt, he tells his crew that he brought with him to spread out around the planet and duplicate what we did here.
Once again, advanced human beings did that shit.
So all of a sudden, pyramids and civilization pop up out of nowhere worldwide.
Have you seen
These
the
are the
pyramid?
people.
The pyramid that, well, they haven't uncovered it
It wasn't people from space though, son. Fuck. It wasn't like separate alien beings though. Shit.
because it's covered in earth.
Like if he actually read that Thoth came down on a ship and told people to build pyramid, if he actually read that shit, that is a lie that's coming from the people who wanted to store history, literally, bro. That is a lie. Like I said, Thoth is not a fucking alien. Thoth is supposed to represent the universal intelligence of the cosmos. Now, when Thoth becomes an actual being, that's some demonic alien shit. Fuck out of here, bro.
But
Shit.
there's a gigantic pyramid I see in a video on recently where you can see it from a satellite. Do you know which one I'm on about?
It's the one I'm going to go see actually in December.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks gigantic, and that clearly those right angles, they don't look like they were created by nature. It looks like a pyramid hidden underneath the earth, right?
Yeah, it looks like that because it probably came up from out the earth. Come on, now you niggas be thinking that I'm playing. Fuck.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they just found over 200 pyramids buried in the sands of Giza with ground penetrating radar from a satellite.
Wow.
So they're everywhere. And if you go
I
to
even
Mexico
heard that
City,
they were in Antarctica or something like that, right?
Antarctica, they're everywhere. And the Antarctic pyramid is the super megalithic. It makes the Great Pyramid look like it's tiny. Right, it's a super massive pyramid. Supposedly, there's some type of exotic energy coming out of that. You go into the Atlantic Ocean, the center of the Bermuda Triangle. There's a pyramid down there, still emitting some type of exotic energy from the apex. That's what is the cause for all of these disappearances and anomalies and time anomalies and everything else. If you take a line and you're able to go down to the center of that apex and draw a line straight through the center of the Bermuda Triangle and come out on the other side of the Earth, you come out at the Devil's Triangle, right at the Yonaguni Pyramid in Japan, the Dragon's Triangle, I'm sorry, where there's also been disappearances and all kind of apparitions and so forth. So we're talking about an interconnected grid of pyramids that also duplicated or also had a job as portals or wormholes or something that connected different places on Earth. People would go from one place to another.
Yo, no, I got dreads, man. I be having to tap my shit. Nah, I got dreads and they in 2-strand twist, bro. My shit itchy, son. I ain't gonna lie. Nigga, my hair not dirty though. Don't play with me though. My shit just a little itchy right now. I ain't gonna lie.
Almost instantaneously, kind of like teleportation. All this stuff was happening in the ancient past, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, when you showed me the bird's eye view from above the Egyptian pyramids and how the solar system fits perfectly onto that was where I was like, yeah, you didn't do that by accident. Like,
no.
it is mind blowing stuff here. And I want to move on to the Bible a little bit because there was, I grew up hearing little Bible stories at school innocently. Just okay, that sounds cool. But when you started telling me like, yeah, some of this has really been copied from, like, word for word almost from thousands of years ago from other scriptures and stuff that you've been reading. So, so Adam and Eve, you kind of covered that. Adam and Eve were the first of many of this new version of us. So that is kind of true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, they're the new version. They're the ones that were okay. Now they can mate on their own. So if you start reading these texts, you find out that the Garden of Eden was like a giant laboratory, but there was like a mating house, like how you have horses in stalls and you mate them at certain times of the day. We were being treated like animals, like literally. They would have men on one side and women on the other side. And then there were specific mating times. And you got in trouble if you didn't mate at the right time. And if you tried to mate out of your turn, you also got in trouble. What's interesting is there's guards at the gate in the Bible. There's guards at the gate in the book of Adam, which is an apocrypha text left out of the Bible. There's guards at the gate in the Sumerian tablets. What in the hell do we need guards for with weapons? They all have weapons. Why would they have weapons? What are they doing there? Why does God need guards with weapons when he can just think things into existence? You see, when you start analyzing this for what it really is, you begin to realize, wait a minute, something else is going on. Why do they call Yahweh Satan, the Lord of Eden, Edin, in the ancient text? Because he really is Satan. That's why. That's why my most famous video that I did is, could the God of the Bible be Satan? I break it all the way down, so we're talking about two people that.
I mean, hey, man, I did make the video where I said is God a demonic alien or some shit like that.
that were just the first two of the
Is the biblical God a demonic alien? Definitely did that.
most genetically modified for the purpose of mating, creating, and building a slave race on this planet. That means everyone on this planet was a slave.
And now, a word from our sponsors. I want to thank our sponsor, Ground News, the best news, and they give you different all over the publishers are. So when I feature evenly UFOs to really help. For example, I'm on a left how many percent and here. Government subscriber 1% of Vanto. Like, I think people are worshipping the wrong God. You know, like if you look at the way God is depicted in the Old Testament and the things he comes out with, is that a benevolent, soft, loving, caring God like you'd want to believe him to be? Not really.
No.
David said to me, it's the gods. You need to remember that. And by gods, we mean the aliens who are actually in control. In terms of
Facts.
Jesus, you've talked a little bit about the real story of Jesus. Can you talk a bit more about that and explain that to me, please?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, Jesus, his real name is Yeshua, right? Yeshua, that's his real name, and he was a real person, an actual, real, physical person.
That's true.
Because some people think maybe it was just a myth. No, it wasn't a myth. It was a real
No, there was an actual biblical. There actually was a historical Jesus. I ain't gonna lie to y'all.
person. Now, some of the things attributed to him were kind of out there because
Yeah, there's mythology. Okay, so like with a whole bunch of mythology, right? They'll use real people or real events, but then add some mythology to that shit. You see what I'm trying to say? It's the same shit with this shit.
they got taken out of context and remixed. But when he turned, from the age of 12 to 32, he disappears from the biblical text. He's gone missing. All right, so where does he go? Well, he ends up in Egypt. And I just took 130 people just a few weeks ago to the place where he actually laid his head. It's a shrine there in Egypt. And there's a map there that shows all the places that him and his mother visited while in Egypt and stayed as they were hiding from the Romans. And so in Egypt, he was learning the Egyptian mysteries.
Now, Peep Games. No, let me just stop there, actually.
Okay. And then he leaves there eventually at some point. He heads to Tibet. And then he's now learning Qigong and Reiki and all these other energy healings and so forth with his hands. And that's
Not Reiki, but yeah, I know what you mean. Reiki's like is later on down the line, but
been confirmed by the Dalai Lama. Then he's coming down back in through India, learning the mystic arts. And he's teaching reincarnation all the way back. And if anybody really reads the book of Revelation, they realize that it's a reincarnation story of flesh and blood, because it says you're coming back in a real body, not some light body. You're going to be in a real body and you're going to have a new name. It's a reincarnation story. But nonetheless, he's teaching this. And he was a real person. In my opinion, he could have been.
That's what I mean. You see how he's spinning a lot of facts. Billy Carson, a lot of shit. Just that some shit's like Thoth coming down on a ship, telling niggas to do what I'm saying? That's what them niggas wrote down, but why did they write that shit down? For distortion.
Been learning the ancient mysteries from Thoth the Atlantean, which is who was the originator of the mystery schools, number one, that had lasted for so many thousands of years.
There's two meanings to that. There are priests and priestesses who would channel the intelligence of the universe. You know what I'm saying? You can say that's a priest of Thoth. Them niggas did make the mystery school and stuff like that, but an actual Thoth as a being, no. I keep on saying no.
But also, there's another possibility. It's just a hypothesis. This being talks about being able to incarnate at will. He talks about using bodies to come back, bodies that he clones himself or creates himself. He says he creates these bodies to come back in and walk around. Could he somehow say, you know what, I'd like to know, what is it like to have the human experience? And allows himself to come back through the womb of a human being, retaining full memory, so that he can have the experience of coming through the womb and suffering as what we call a normal person, or what he used to call the little people, right? It's a possibility, just a hypothesis, something to ponder or think about. But it's pretty interesting that Mary's mother was also a virgin birth, so she's also in vitro fertilization.
Where did you hear that Mary was also a virgin birth?
That's in the Apocrypha text.
Wow.
So when you read the Apocrypha, you begin to find this out. If you read the Gospel of the Holy 12, you find out where Jesus disappeared to when he disappears from the Bible, the Gospel of the Holy 12. Again, they accidentally...
I never read it before. I'm about to look it up now. Gospel of the Holy 12, I'm on it thinking, Billy. I ain't gonna lie.
On purpose left this information out of the Bible too.
Yeah, they do seem to have been selective. From everything I'm learning about what you're saying, it seems like they pick and choose what sort of matches up with the story they want to tell. So, in regards to the story of is Jesus the Son of God, you think he may be connected in some way to Thoth?
When they say God, they're talking about these people, and David Icke was right, gods with an S, because in the Bible, everywhere where you see the word God singular, that's a mistranslation by accident on purpose. The original term is gods with an S, and Elohim is also plural gods. So we're talking about gods, and we're not talking anywhere in that Bible about the creator of the actual universe itself. Nowhere does it ever mention the real creator of the universe. That book is about flesh and blood people, men that put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you and me. So it's really unfortunate, but these gods, these people were advanced. They had advanced knowledge, advanced spiritual concepts, advanced technology. And so that's who these people were learning from. And, you know, in my father's house, there are many mansions. Well, there's, in my opinion, there's super duper massive spaceships in outer space. I just think that he was part human, part Anunnaki, more like a quote unquote demigod, in my opinion. But what's interesting is a very small text was found years ago called the Book of Jesus' Wife, which is located at the Harvard Seminary. So, and in the Sinai Bible, he was never crucified. I think that's a fabrication made up by the Roman Church. They added their pagan doctrine.
I've heard that the resurrection of Christ happened before he was on the cross. I have heard that. And I've heard that the crucifixion there's like some negative symbology shit going on there, which I haven't fully read up on. But I was gonna learn about this shit today, actually. Like, I plan on learning about all that shit today, actually. So we gonna see about that.
And everything else to the Bible too, so they can say, you know what, we're tired of fighting these people. Let's just go collaborate with them and collect all the money. We'll take the tithes and offerings, and we'll give them the taxes. So we'll double dip on them. They'll be so dumb they won't even realize it, and that's what happened.
Yeah, so the Roman Catholic Church have basically reworked the story so that it sounds nicer for them.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, Jesus, the physical version of Jesus that we see in Brazil, for example, he didn't really look like that.
No.
Yeah.
That's a Pope's son. That face, that's Caesar Borgia. Caesar Borgia, who was a murdering killer, who was sleeping with his sister, killed his brother because he wanted his
Whoa, I did not know he was fucking his sister. Hold the fuck up.
brother's power and rights to rule and so forth underneath his dad, who was a pope. And he ordered all the paintings to be, to have his face to be depicted as him. And it just caught on, and it continued on for, obviously, till this current day. But yeah, I mean, the real Yeshua was a Middle Eastern or African man, not the depiction that we see. So even in that, people are praying to a false image. The Bible says don't pray to false gods, yet they're praying to a man, a real man, and also they're praying to his image, which is not even a right image, so that's even a false image. And then they're calling on his name, which is not even his name. The J is a recent letter. The J was in like the 1500s, I believe, or something, 1540 or whatever it was. Don't quote me exactly, but J wasn't there. They're screaming out Isus, which means Hail Zeus. This is why calling on that name has no real power. You're not even calling on the person who's supposed to be the Son of God. And what he says in the Bible is,
we're all worshiping a guy who murdered someone, essentially.
They're murdering a guy who murdered somebody.
Yeah,
and they're calling on Zeus at the same time. So their prayers are all mixed up. They have no power. If you look at the state of the world today, and you calculate 85% of the world is Christian, 85%. And all those prayers are going up night in, night out, day in, day out, trillions of prayers a day, because people are praying multiple times a day, times by billions. All of a sudden, you begin to realize these prayers ain't being answered. We should be living in the golden age right now.
Yeah.
How come the golden age isn't happening?
And when you say
because these prayers aren't working.
And when you say we're saying instead of Jesus means Jesus, Zeus being one of the Anunnaki, I'm assuming.
One of the Anunnaki.
Yeah, and
praying to the Anunnaki,
about, like those Greek gods and
you're praying to the Anunnaki.
all of that. This kind of what we're referring to as well in that sense.
Yes,
and that's a bit like Yeah. Because Zeus could be several different beings, a demonic spirit, an alien, a certain representation because it first in the universe.
Greek gods are the old Anunnaki, the newer version of the Anunnaki.
Most Greek gods, though, pretty much, like when you pray to them, you're most of the time gonna talk to like a demonic alien. I mean a demonic spirit. You know what I'm saying, or some type of spirit. You know, but there is like like for example, praying to Aries, right? If you understand that Aries really does just represent Mars, then you will get in contact with the energy of Mars. You know what I'm saying? But like, you gotta be careful with that shit, especially the Greek shit.
Pantheon, so to speak. So you just convert their names over from Sumerian, and they all took them over and converted them into Greek names. You know, like Mercury is actually Thoth, for example, right? Poseidon is Enki. So you start to see this correlation between. They're still talking about the pantheon of Greece is still talking about the Anunnaki, and people are still praying to these Anunnaki gods till this very day. Matter of fact, every time you say amen, you're saying thank you to Amun Ra, who's also known as Marduk. That's in the Jewish.
You see this? Amun Ra literally means the hidden spirit. You know what I'm saying? Now, you could probably associate Amun with Marduk in some type of weird fucking way because, I don't fucking know. But Amun, the word Amun means hidden. You know what I'm saying? And then Amun Ra means the hidden spirit. You know what I'm saying? Which is literally just your awareness. That's the hidden spirit, is your awareness. Amun represents the observational point of awareness that you actually are. Well, it's more or less that Amun is, okay, so you have Amun, Ra, and Ptah. Observer, sustainer, creator. You know what I'm saying? The source, right, manifests itself as the observer, the sustainer, and the creator of creation. You know what I'm saying? So Amun is the aspect of source that observes creation. You know what I'm saying? And then your soul is a piece of that observer. You see what I'm trying to say? Yeah, and the reason why Amun is called hidden is because you can't physically perceive awareness, right? Like Amun Ra is the hidden spirit, right? Ra is the spirit, as in the spirit you can actually see. What is that? Light. Ra is light. The physical form of awareness is literally light. When awareness manifests itself physically, it appears as light via using thought and emotion, aka intelligence and will, aka electromagnetic radiation. You see what I'm trying to say? So with that being said, Amun is not fucking Marduk. Maybe in some weird gangbang you fucking twisted the I, you dotted the O and crossed the lines and you fucking, but originally, no nigga. Amun is an aspect of yourself. Amun Ra is an aspect of your fucking self. Damn.
Torah. That's in the Bible. You can look up the name. Just do a search on that name, Marduk. Oh, wow. Then you find out that's Marduk is actually Amun Ra from ancient Egypt.
No.
And he ordered that every person give thanks under his name, when...
The reason you say Amun after a prayer is because since Amun also represents the unconscious mind. You know what I'm saying? When you say your prayer to say amen or amen, it's because you're stationing that prayer inside your unconscious mind. Because oftentimes with prayers, right, you're not just talking to a being. You're supposed to invoke certain parts of yourself. So if you're trying to become rich, right, I would pray to the part of myself that is rich. You know what I'm saying? Then I would say amen to cinch in that prayer inside my unconscious mind so I can activate the part of me that's actually rich. Dad, nigga, fuck.
When they pray or anything that they get. So it's really a moon, but it became amen much later, obviously over iterations of verbages and people speaking. But you're giving thanks to a brutal, killing, murdering ruler every time you say amen.
Marduk, yes. Amen, no. If you linking those two is fucking wild. I'm not gonna lie.
This is why people have no idea, because when you...
He just laughing, eating this shit up. You don't even fucking know Philly, my nigga. You just eating this shit, nigga. Fuck.
Praying, you're trying to cast a...
That's what I'm saying. This nigga, like Billy, bro, my guy, he says hella facts. Put me on to some shit I ain't even fucking know about. Nigga, I ain't gonna lie. Put me on the mad shit. But this shit he say right here is not real. And the reason why I think, bro, look at the Orion. he has big Orion, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like maybe his Orion influence is what's causing this shit because you understand that the shit that's going on now is partially because of the Orion group. You know what I'm saying? The negative Orion Empire be lying about mad shit. So I ain't gonna lie. Maybe his Orion shit coming through and singing some shit. I ain't gonna lie. So.
Spell. That's really what it is. You want to alter your reality to your benefit by saying these words to a deity on the outside of you, and you're hoping that something magical happens and turns things around. That's casting a spell. But you can't even cast a spell, right?
Literally.
Because you're calling on deities that don't have any power.
And that actually is partially true. When you call upon certain deities, bro, you gotta understand what the fuck you're talking to, bro. Like, if I pray to Ra, right, I'm just talking to my own spirit. If I pray to Thoth, I'm praying to the intelligence of the universe. I'm not praying to some alien being named Thoth, though. You know what I'm saying? If I'm praying to motherfucking Set, we're talking to my ego type shit. But if you think, oh, Set's an actual being, you might fuck with a demonic spirit. You know what I'm saying? Or just not get any result because you don't connect to shit. You know what I'm saying? So either demonic spirit or you ain't getting shit if you don't know what the fuck Set is or Thoth or fucking any other deity. You know what I'm saying?
It is quite amazing.
I mean, you could also sometimes get into a spirit guides through like if you talk to Isis, right? And you don't understand what ISIS fully is, but you're able to connect with it in like a positive way, then a demonic spirit will not always take over. However, sometimes your spirit guides may appear like through ISIS type shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like ISIS would be like a portal to your spirit guides type shit to help you activate your soul.
Amazing when you think we've
Because ISIS is the wisdom of your soul.
all been saying, like, I remember being a little kid at school saying, oh man, like, you know, you pray, you know, when they tell you to, and I never thought, why am I saying the words amen, like, ever? And you've mentioned Satan or Satan a few times now. What can you tell me about him?
Well, he's an evil dude. His name is actually
Well, he's evil.
Enlil from the ancient Sumerian tablets. If you read the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Book of Deuteronomy and
The word Gilgamesh has always been like weird, like Gilgamesh. I always hated that word.
the Bible, you're going to go, oh my goodness, this is who I've been praying to. This guy would say in the Epic of Gilgamesh, the humans are making too much clamor. They're just too loud. Go kill them off.
Oh, wow.
So he would send his military out to go kill like hundreds or even thousands of humans to get it more quiet outside. Just a little too much noise. Or he would say, the people over here, he had this thing called an all-seeing eye that can let him see population densities on the planet, okay? On a crystal tablet, he calls it. He says, you know, people over here, they're just unruly. He would send his people to go spray their crops and dry them out. So now we're talking about chemtrails in Sumerian tablets so they can starve to death. Just
Why is it always Samaria though?
starve them to
Tell you, after the Sumerian Egyptian invasion, bro, shit got fucked up after that.
death. They'll shut up now, right? And then he would even spread plagues. He would have them go spread plagues to kill. So we're talking about a brutal, evil dude. And so he didn't like what happened when when his brother Enki, Thoth is Enki's son, when Enki went into the Garden of Eden and started talking to these people and telling them how powerful they are and that that they're not animals, that they deserve the right to walk around with respect and dignity just like us because we're the same. That was the apple that they ate. The apple was knowledge. Apple represents knowledge. And so when he came back, Enlil, he realizes what's happened, that his brother interacted with them. So he made a decree that his brother is the devil. Don't worship him. Don't talk to him. This guy is evil, to keep him from getting in everyone's ear and waking them up. So, but the true Satan, the true devil is Yahweh, which is Enlil.
So the guy in the Bible who says, you know, don't listen to the snake, he's the real problem.
Right. The snake is wisdom. In all ancient texts, the snake always represents wisdom.
That is actually pretty true. It also represents life force and stuff like that because when your life force starts to activate and stuff like that, you naturally start perceiving life and the polarity of it and the good, bad, right, wrong, light, dark, and you start obtaining that knowledge and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? And then the snake coming to Adam and Eve is like, the reason why it comes to Eve is because the snake is the snake is a feminine life force, you know what I'm saying? when it advanced inside you, you start getting the whole light, dark, good, bad. You start perceiving life and becoming more aware and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It also is a symbol of wisdom. Also, I made a video called "The Truth About Archons." They make the human body and stuff like that. I mentioned how the snake was actually a good character in that story.
But you see how they twisted it? Snakes, you're a snake. You're crawling on your belly. You're this deceiver. No, snakes in ancient Egypt.
That's not. But here's the thing, though. Snakes could be evil also, my nigga. Because Apep, the god of fucking chaos, the evil being that's trying to fucking stop the universe in Egyptian mythology. Apep is a serpent also. You know what I'm saying?
Dynastic era, in Mayan, everywhere else you go, snake is representing wisdom.
And this is also kind of assume how God seems to twist personality throughout the Bible, as they're picking and choosing from different gods, and that's why there's no consistency there.
And that's why they're battling. They're fighting. They got so much ego. They started fighting over each other over resources and humans. So who can rule over the most humans? Who can get the most praise from the humans that they're ruling over? And they started going to war over this stuff. And the book of Deuteronomy in the Bible, you see one God.
Deuteronomy. I don't know why, but Deuteronomy. That just sound like some shit, nigga. Deuteronomy. Huh, nigga, like what?
Because you could tell it's 2 or 3 different gods speaking. Yeah. You go to this town and you go with my angels. Now angels are putting on the breastplates in battle and getting all kind of weapons out. Why do angels need weapons? Then why are they going to fight with humans? Go to this city. One person there has something against me. And so I want you to kill everyone in the entire city. Kill the women, kill the children. You're talking about killing babies now. They say even slaughter the animals if you want to. And they say if you...
That way, yeah, he didn't like that. He's like, didn't they kill babies though?
Find some virgins, by the way. You can bring them back. Bring the virgins back. This is in the book of Deuteronomy. Yeah. If you see a woman walking across the field, you can rape her. But if you rape her, now you got a choice. You can keep her, or you can tell her to go, or you can keep her as a wife. So now you got rape and abduction. In prison.
It's not funny. It's the way he's saying it though. You got rape and abduction. God, fuck.
And then you get all these stupid battles going back and forth. Go to this town and smite everyone and bring the spoils of war back to me. Why does God, the creator of the universe, need spoils of war? Why does he need that?
That is facts.
You see, we're talking about real people. We're not talking about the creator of the universe, because the creator of the universe doesn't have time to get involved in petty wars of ants. We're just like ants. I'm not going to the anthill and going, I wonder if this red ant is against that red ant. Let me kick this red ant's hill so this red ant can have a benefit of it. I mean, come on.
And I suppose that's why when we talk about sacrifices to the gods, that's what they're really referring to, is these real people who are actually happy to accept them. Yeah. And I've definitely seen so-called gods depicted with battle armor on, and even going back to some hieroglyphics I've seen where, like, basically animals / people look like they're in flying objects, and you're like, well, what was going on there then? In terms of other Bible stories, are there any others that you've uncovered where you're like, oh, this has some truth in it, but it was this, like Noah's Ark, for example, anything like that? Or
no,
nigga.
Noah's Ark is pretty interesting, because when you look at the biblical account, it seems that the dimensions make it into what we would call a ship. But you look at the information released about 6 years ago, it's at the British Museum. They found a lost tablet. This tablet talks about Ziusudra, who's really Noah in the modern day Bible, getting the order and the decree to build this ship. And the dimensions of the ship is like a disc, not a ship that sails across the ocean, something totally different. He was also told not to gather 2 of every kind on the entire planet. Don't get these 2 cockroaches, because it's going to come in handy. No, he was told to gather your local cattle and your local, animals and things like that. Some of the flora and fauna, some seeds or whatever, and he put those on the round submersible, or maybe it flew. Nobody really knows, but it was round, and it's depicted there. It's very clear to see it was a round disc, not a sailing ship. Pretty interesting. And then when you look at the Sumerian tablets, you discover that this strike of this asteroid that created this global flood was avoidable by the Anunnaki. But that Enlil was so pissed off about all the knowledge and wisdom and all the inspiration that had been given by his brother Enki and his nephew Thoth and a few others, He said, I'm going to wipe out the entire planet and we're going to start over again. And he had that power because he was a ranking ruler over even his own family members. It says that they had watched from their sky abode and they mourned their creation being destroyed. So they watched this from space.
So essentially, Satan or Enlil, did you say? Sorry.
Yeah.
He kind
person.
of allowed this to happen to create a reset because he was unhappy with the way things were going.
Yeah. So I'm going to start fresh. Let's start all over again. And that's where the Emerald Tablets picks up. Thoth is given a decree by his father, who's Enki. He's also known as Thoth-Mi, to go to the land of Khem and rebuild them to a high level of civilization. So he sneaks his son in and says, hey, man, let's get this thing cranking again. Let's get it going again.
I want to say this real quick. Enlil and Enki, right? Enlil and Enki are supposed to be Asar and Set from Egypt. Okay? My fault. Are supposed to be Asar and Set from Egypt. You know what I'm saying? I forgot who would be who. But Enlil and Enki are not actual beings either. They just got made into actual beings, but they're not actual beings either. You know what I'm saying? They're representations of the soul and then the ego. You know what I'm saying? That's why one brother is super like ego and the other one is not. You know what I'm saying? It's the same. You have the same story in fucking Egypt too, my nigga. It's literally all the same shit. You know what I'm saying?
Start teaching these people, and as soon as Thoth lands his ship there, the barbarians come to attack him. So you can see how far back we had fallen again, all the way to a barbaric stage. And he says that he raised his staff and he sends out a ray of vibration which stopped them still a stone in the mountain. So he has some type of a non-lethal vibration weapon that freezes them in their tracks. And then he goes over to begin to talking to them. They start groveling at his feet. And he says, no, stand up. I'm a son of Atlantis. He didn't say I'm a son of God. He didn't say I am God. He said, I'm a son of Atlantis. I'm here to bring you back up to a high level of civilization. And he begins to talk peace with them. And they talk about rebuilding and they begin to put their plans together to rebuild.
So he essentially seems like a force of good and part of, even though he was Anunnaki, he was now Earthling.
Remember how I said that Thoth stole the Emerald Tablets? So, in the original tablets, right, you probably do have Thoth saying shit like, I'm Thoth who does this and all that other shit, right? But it's probably a priest who's saying, it's like, because they always say it's a priest of Thoth or some shit like that, right? It's probably just the priest who's writing that shit, right? Then you have a being, like an alien, right, who steals the tablets, right, and calls themselves Thoth and then says, nigga, I'm Thoth, the alien who did all this shit. Now, like I said, that's not fucking true, my nigga. The people who rebuilt, who built the whole Egypt stuff, and those are priests and priestesses, bro, multiple of them. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no fucking Thoth, my nigga.
Essentially.
Yeah.
I assume the question from the audience will be, well, if they've been here before, are they still here now? And if so, where are they?
Yeah. I think that they are still here now. There's a tablet which talks about after that war I told you about, a lot of them left. Some stayed. And I believe that their offspring are still walking the planet till this very day. I also still believe there are some very, very powerful ones operating behind the veil that are controlling the governments of this world, a very small faction that are still pulling the strings and controlling every war, every outcome, and trying to, keep their grasp on the planet that's evolving and changing in not only in massive civilization, but also in technology, and that they're going to soon lose that grip as the age of Aquarius is upon us, and these beings only ruled by star charts.
It's very interesting that you bring up star signs, because I was actually going to bring that up at some point, because they are wholeheartedly opposed by religion, it seems, and viewed as devil worship style stuff.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of their significance to us?
Super significant. You're going back to the time of Horus from ancient Kemet, long before it was the dynastic era. He's one of the Naturu, right? And so Horus, which is where you get the word horoscope, it comes from Horus from ancient Egypt. And so this gave us the ability to understand months and movements of stars and alignments and everything else. It's really important because when you look at star charts and you look at astrology, which I used to think was maybe not real, when I started to look into science and gravitational fields, I realized there is some truth to astrology, and there's probably a lot of fake ones out there, but there are some ones that are probably pretty spot on. When I looked at some scientific studies where they took frogs' eggs into space and they began to let them mature, let the embryos mature and hatch, and I'm not hatch, but grow into frogs. They were realizing something incredible, that the magnetic field of the Earth and the pull of the moon were having effect on whether they were male or female. And so this experiment was done a few more times, and they began to realize that magnetic fields and gravitational fields alter the genes inside of an embryo in the embryonic stage. Now, when you look at star charts and alignments, if you're born under a specific alignment on a specific day, that field that's being created, which spans across billions of light years, is going to have a minute effect on your genes and your DNA while you're in the gestation period. So you come out of that.
So for all y'all who think astrology not real, that shit real. And if you want some astrology coaching, links down below.
And you begin to
birth chart readings and all.
Grow up, but those slight energetic modifications become part of your personality matrix. And so I do believe that astrology has a lot of real information to it. It's just that some people are, charlatans and some aren't. It's hard to find a real good one. But if you find a good one, I believe that you can find some good information in that.
And in terms of what you just said about there still being
like me, because I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
In remnants of the Anunnaki behind the cloak of government and etc. David Icke is definitely on board with that, and it was really interesting to hear the way he put them across of. They're very aware of a lot of this information, and they're shrouded in secrecy, but they are still very powerful. Do you worry that you're kind of saying a lot right now and maybe shining a light on, especially with, the control government and religion have over the world still? Are you
think my nigga a bitch or something?
Worried about, how far you're pushing things?
Not really. I think that I don't have enough power.
That's what I'm saying.
As of yet. Maybe if I become a little bit more powerful, I don't think I have enough influence yet to make an impact on a scale that would get their complete attention. I'm moving in that direction, but as for right now, my biggest threats are coming from the community that watches my videos. People who
niggas like me. Because like I said, I fuck with Billy. It's just that some of this shit's like, man, you know what I'm saying?
Who believe in flat earth, and I don't believe in flat earth.
Yeah, flat earth is only halfway true, my nigga. You see, the earth is actually round, but you do live inside of the earth is like, there's like a earth plane pretty much, right? So inside of that plane, right, like you have this flat plane, but inside that plane actually is an actual earth, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Imagine you have like a box, right? A rectangular box, you know what I'm saying? So if you look at the top of the box, that shit is flat, you know what I'm saying? But inside the box, there's like an actual round earth, my nigga.
They sent me death threats. I've had 3 death threats from people that believe the earth is flat because I'm talking about pyramids in space. I've had people that are going against, that believe in religion, and I'm going against religion and going towards spirituality. And so those zealots and religious zealots, I've had death threats from them. They want to kill me in the name of God, obviously. So my biggest threats are coming from the people, not from any government agency, which is probably what they like. They probably want me to be consumed by these people that are on the border of psychopathic, narcissistic mindsets or schizophrenia or whatever else. Or a lot of these people are really just obsessed fanatics. They're susceptible to fanaticism. So, let the fanaticism sort it out. So, I try to go as many places as I can with my weapon on me. I carry a concealed weapon.
Carry that glick? Carry that glick on it. Billy let you know, I don't play, nigga. I'll bust your head open.
If I'm out somewhere else, I usually have an armed guard.
Nigga said, I will bust your head open. Do not play with me.
That's the life you live, But my biggest threat is not coming from the government. It's coming from the people.
It's coming from niggas.
Yeah.
Flat earthers trying to kill him is actually crazy, though. I'm not gonna lie.
In terms of like the Illuminati and all these, conspiracy theories we hear about the government, have you done much research into them? And what's your sort of take? Because you mentioned the all-seeing eye earlier, just as a part of conversation, but we see that on the top of a pyramid, on the dollar bill. Like, do you have any knowledge about that, for example, and just general research in that area?
It was a primary factor in the documentary I created, which is an award-winning documentary about the Black Knight satellite. And so the all-seeing eye is mentioned in this documentary because Enlil, who, when you look him up and Google, what planets does Enlil own? Does Enlil own anything in space? You find out that the ancient Sumerian tablets attribute the ownership of the Boötis constellation to Enlil. This guy owns a constellation.
Enlil does not own no fucking constellation, my nigga. Oh yeah, that shit, nigga. Them niggas lied in them tablets, bro. Why know why I'm saying that, nigga? Arcturus is a part of that constellation, my nigga. Get the fuck out of here. If y'all know about Arcturus, bro, then you already fucking know. You already know.
Now, what's interesting with that is the fact that in these texts, he talks about the fact that he has this tablet, this crystal tablet that can see anything on any part of the world at any given time. That means
the fact that Enlil is even being called an actual being is fucking crazy. Like, there's, like, literally, the people who wrote this shit are just liars trying to distort history and all this shit, my nigga.
Means he's got something connected to a satellite that's orbiting the planet in a polar orbit so he can see what's going on the planet. And so I connect that to the Black Knight satellite, which is this object that's still orbiting our planet today, that's on NASA.gov. It's listed as space junk. It weighs approximately an estimated 15 tons by them, not by me. And nobody will touch this thing because they don't know what it's doing. But over the years, people have picked up a signal from this, including Nikola Tesla, who also picked up a signal from this thing. But the signal has been deciphered by not only ham radio operators, but also an astronomer who wrote an article about it in Time magazine in 1960. And more recently, an NSA declassified document which talks about this signal, that it points to Boötis constellation. The ham radio operators in the 1950s, it points to Boötis constellation. The astronomer in 1960, Boötis constellation. What's interesting there, you got...
All right, maybe he onto something. Hold on, I'm not paying attention like that. Hold on.
4 different sources coming up with the same exact location that this thing is sending or receiving some type of information from a constellation owned by a Sumerian god who says he has an all-seeing eye. I think that Black Knight satellite, or that object that's up there, is super ancient. All-seeing from...
I'm sorry, guys. I got to see what you said.
Owns a constellation. Now, what's interesting with that is the fact that in these texts, he talks about the fact that he has this tablet, this crystal tablet that can see anything on any part of the world at any given time. That means he's got something connected to a satellite that's orbiting the planet in a polar orbit so he can see what's going on the planet. And so I connect that to the Black Knight satellite, which is this object that's still orbiting our planet today, that's on NASA.gov. It's listed as space junk. It weighs approximately an estimated 15 tons by them, not by me. And nobody will touch this thing because they don't know what it's doing. But over the years, people have picked up a signal from this, including Nikola Tesla, who also picked up a signal from this thing. But the signal has been deciphered by not only ham radio operators, but also an astronomer who wrote an article about it in Time magazine in 1960. And more recently, an NSA declassified document which talks about this signal, that it points to Boötis constellation. The ham radio operators in the 1950s, it points to Boötis constellation. The astronomer in 1960, Boötis constellation. What's interesting there, you got 4 different sources coming up with the same exact location that this thing is sending or receiving some type of information from a constellation owned by a Sumerian god who says he has an all-seeing eye. I think that Black Knight satellite, or that object that's up there, is super ancient. It dates back to where Boötis was in the sky about 13,000 years ago. So it could be at least 13,000 years old based on star alignments. And it could be transmitting in real time updates on what's going on this planet with this abandoned seed colony we call Earth.
Look at me not paying fucking attention. All right, I'm sorry, bro. I'ma just let him have that shit, bro.
Yeah, I've seen footage of this thing, or at least what looks like satellite images of it, and it is massive. And it does beg our belief what the hell was going on there. You've also mentioned the importance of Iraq, and I thought that was quite interesting because there has always, I mean, the way America, has wanted to claim control of it, in the past, freedom fighters, so to speak, and the importance of what that part of the world has. Can you elaborate on that for me, mate?
Well, first and foremost, be careful when America wants to bring democracy to your country, because that means you're going to be pummeled to death and you're going to be left with dust. A whole bunch of blown up hospitals, schools, school buses, and a lot of dead civilians that had nothing to do with anything. It's unfortunate. But Iraq, what's interesting is after these 9/11 attacks, we got to go there. We got to go get revenge. We got to go get these WMDs. Well, how come they go look for WMDs at Saddam Hussein's museum? The first place they went was to the museum and blew the doors open to the deepest areas of that museum. There were steel doors that had some artifacts that Saddam Hussein was claiming proved that civilization had started in Iraq, ancient Iraq, which is Sumeria, Mesopotamia, and that they proved also that there was advanced beings with advanced technology in the ancient past. The head of the Board of Transportation of Iraq had come forward about now 4 or 5 years ago and made a big statement that the original first airports and technology that existed was here in Iraq. And he took a lot of criticism for that, but this is an official saying he's not only does he know it, but he says I have proof. So what does America do? They go there, boom, blow the doors off. They go and they scour the basement of that museum and take artifacts. And I have a friend that was actually on that team who went there and sent me photos. They took artifacts. What are you doing to get revenge against America when you're stealing artifacts from museums? Something in there that they didn't want anybody to know about, or they wanted to figure out how they can work it themselves. The second thing was they went to the Ziggurat of Ur next. First 2 stops. We're going to go to a pyramid. We're going to blow it open, go inside. And they took this object out of that pyramid that looks like the disc from the Stargate movie. Okay, just like it. Matter of fact, I believe the Stargate movie now was created on after this thing they discovered. I have photos on one of my Facebook groups. I think it's my Anunnaki history group from years ago, that my friend took standing there on the steps of the Ziggurat with the whole entire military. They had just, this thing had just come out, and they put it on the back of a double wide Humvee and put a tarp over it. It went off into the sunset. He never seen it again. But again, was that the WMD? Maybe something that can access or open a portal or a Stargate? We don't know. But the real purpose for that whole thing was 3 things: to get that information about advanced civilizations from the museum. The second thing was to go get this object that looks like a Stargate. And the third thing was to be able to pummel the entire country and steal all of its resources, form Halliburton Corporation, which made $34 billion off of the cleanup, which they built like 4 or 5 houses and a couple of gas stations for hundreds of millions of dollars and kept the rest of the money.
Do you believe that we've been to the moon then, or other planets, as in this version of human? Do you believe we went?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You see, the moon was a reconnaissance mission. They realized during a couple of low lunar orbiting missions that there was stuff up there that shouldn't be there. And they wanted to get their hands on it and figure.
I don't know if it's true. I don't know how true the moon landing is, so I'm actually interested inside this part. I'm not gonna lie.
Figure out what the hell it was. The real race to the moon between Russia and America was to get their hands on ancient technology. This is what the general population has no clue about. There are so
I wouldn't doubt that. Not gonna lie.
many anomalies up there. There's so much stuff laying around on the surface. We gotta go get this stuff. This can be the next technological revolution if we get it first, and we can turn it into a weapon. Everything is about weaponizing. The big race and the push was to get this first. And so when they got there, they began to bag up some of this stuff and bring it back. But now we can't show you what's really there, because now you're going to be asking questions. Well, what's that doing there? What are these things looking like wires? Why does this look like a torn down structure? See, China sent a moon rover and they made a mistake. They sent back live footage. The rover got stuck in debris that looks like a junkyard from Earth, and they can't get it out. It's still stuck there till this very day. The images were too late. They were transmitted already. No way to erase the images. No way to photo crop them or rock crop them or delete the stuff that's in there, because it was transmitted in real time. So we know for a fact that it's there. Also, the Clementine mission from the military, they sent the low lunar orbiting satellite with advanced camera technology, which transmitted back gigs of data. And this data is mind-blowing. When it got to what we call the dark side, which is really the far side of the moon, it crashed and it never came back. I knew it wasn't coming back when I saw the name Clementine, because that's an old Western song. Oh, my darling Clementine, you were lost and gone forever. They knew it was never going to come back. They wanted to intentionally crash this thing into a structure to maybe get more data out of it. But the images that anyone can download are mind-boggling images, which look like structures, vehicles, and what looks like remnants of technology scattered all over the place. So, we went to the moon, in my personal opinion, but they lied about it. They created some fake images, some fake video clips, keep it looking like a barren, sandy landscape, when in true reality, it's all about gathering up and taking, doing a I guess maybe some CSI work to figure out who the hell was up there, where'd they come from, and what kind of technology is this, and how can we incorporate it into our arsenal? That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah, sort of like keep the public thinking there's nothing to say up there. It was just a touchdown and then we'll come back home. And in terms of like we're seeing modern technology advancing at a rapid rate as opposed to the last couple of thousand years. Like all of a sudden things have sped up, and I wondered if you thought that maybe crash landings of UFOs or anything alien technology has anything to do with that.
Oh, for sure. First of all, what they grabbed on the moon, number one, that tech they grabbed from the moon and brought back accelerated us. The crash landings in 1947 super accelerated us. What the Nazis discovered in Antarctica with these other race of beings that were there, this Aryan race. See, the Aryan race isn't blonde hair, blue-eyed people. That's a whole nother fake thing that
I was unaware of the Nazis discovering anything in Antarctica. So can you help us understand that?
Oh, yeah. They went down there. First of all, Hitler sent his people all over the world, even to Tibet, looking for these ancient scrolls and scriptures and papyruses to find out anything he could about ancient technology, because he believed that the ancient past were more technologically advanced than them. They finally were they were pointed in the direction of Antarctica, and they go there, and they discover that there's people there in this particular opening, about a 30-meter wide opening. And they go down there and they begin to collaborate with these people. These people claim to, according to accounts, that we're going to give you some power back. We're going to teach you how to make these weapons and take control of the planet. And we'll then, when we come back out to rule the planet, we're going to allow you guys to have power. That's what it was all about. Nothing about blonde hair, blue-eyed, and all this other kind of stuff. I think it was something totally different and totally twisted by the general public. It was all about this race that he had discovered there and giving them back their kingship over this planet, and then he would have power underneath them. They helped him create these Haunebu craft, these flying craft that he had, some flying as early as the 1930s. The UFO-shaped craft that had gun turrets on them, part nuclear, part magnetic, part ferrofluid.
I did not know this. This is interesting.
Vortex engine-powered anti-gravity craft. And so Admiral Byrd discovered this when he went down. There were some Navy vessels, and they were attacked. And not only were they attacked, some people died, and he got sent back with his tail between his legs. And he said, there's a new enemy that can go from pole to pole. So this was an actual broadcast, an actual interview he was on. So they were down there. They got this advanced tech. Now, why I'm saying that had an influence on us now is because when we won World War II, we literally took over 2,000, not 10, 15, 20, 2,000 Nazis out of Germany and brought them to America under Project Paperclip. And we put them in the CIA. We put them.
I've heard about Project Paperclip. I didn't know what the fuck it is, though.
In the space program. We put them in the military. We put them in intelligence areas. We did all this stuff to them, and we made them a part of the United States. We actually became the Fourth Reich in a weird kind of way.
Yeah, they made up NASA, essentially, from what I've heard.
Right. NASA, Yeah. So we're talking about, man, these guys brought all that tech that they had been discovering, who they themselves said they had help from people above. That was the exact response they gave, how they were getting this technology. So we're operating right now militarily off of technology based on help from aliens that came to the Germans, and then we abducted those Germans and brought them here, and it came to us. That's how we became the most powerful nation in the world technologically, as far as war goes. So that's how it happened. It came from there.
You mentioned Antarctica, and I think that there's a lot of theories out there of why Antarctica is shut off. Do you believe that it's more to do with, I don't know, Anunnaki around that area? Or I
can tell you there's a lot of research going on. We have a new series on my TV network on Forbidden Knowledge TV. It's called The Secrets of Antarctica by Brad Olson. Now, Brad, who's a very good friend of mine and a very popular researcher and best-selling author, he went down there. And he was granted access to an area where the research bases are actually located. And some of this footage is in my TV show that I produced. What's interesting is you'll find that there's bases there from all over the world researching something that's in an opening off in the distance. What are they researching and who are they talking to? Just like who was Hitler talking to? I think they're talking and researching the same civilization. And now that the ice is melting, they're discovering technology there, and I think that's what it's really all about. You also have another research base there called the Rockefeller Foundation, the only one that's not a country. The Rockefeller Foundation is there as well. And you can see this just by going to Google Earth and zooming in right there. You'll find all the bases, and the names of the bases are clearly labeled. So it's not a secret, but it's a no war zone. You can't fight there. You can't, but it is guarded with weapons, but you can't, those nations that are there, they can't fight each other. They're collaborating. But what's interesting is Buzz Aldrin went down there a few years back, and he made a tweet, which became a cryptic tweet. He said, these people are evil. We're facing the ultimate evil, or something to that effect. And then about maybe 7-8 hours later, he deleted it. But by then, everybody had already screenshotted it and everything else. And they said, we had to fly him out of here because he was getting sick. But something he saw, something he heard, he didn't like it. He didn't like it at all. So it's pretty interesting what's going on down there. But we talk a lot about a lot of this in that TV series on my TV network, The Secrets of Antarctica by Brad Olson.
So you mentioned Rockefeller. David Icke certainly has mentioned them plenty. Do you think that they have knowledge of these Anunnaki and they are maybe a part of it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. One of them actually made a statement years ago. I forget which Rockefeller it was, but he said it wasn't a Rockefeller. It was his partners. The Rothschild actually made the statement. But they collab together. I mean, they both own the central bank.
Yeah.
Right. But they said that, we have the right to rule over mankind. They really believe that they're supposed to rule over us. And this is coming from their genetic lineage, that they feel that they're directly connected to these Anunnaki gods, who are connected to these, the gods that are on the Sumerian kings list that rule for hundreds of thousands of years. The Sumerian kings list is talking about gods that rule for 14,400 years, 28,000 years, and so forth and so on. You got all this list of all these people that ruled. And then after the Great Flood, kingship was handed down to mankind, that there'd be one liaison that was half human, half Anunnaki, that they would be the go-through person to the people. And so through that bloodline and lineage, here comes many others, including the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Mm-hmm. When you look at the ancient text, where Amun-Ra was trying to escape this last war, he makes a very crazy statement. He says, I'm leaving the kingship and the finances to my Ra-Kam, K-A-M, which is an ancient word that translates now into the word shield. So 5,000 years ago, he left the kingship and the finances and control over to the Ra shield, which now is the Rothschilds. So this is ancient stuff, man. It's all connected.
Yeah. And David specifically, when I interviewed him, he mentioned that there's the possibility of they can, the elite level of these Anunnaki can be interdimensional. Do you subscribe to that theory?
Duh.
That's interesting. Now, if you consider that there are a lot of different types of beings that exist in the universe, in my opinion, and anyone that's not from Earth is an Anunnaki. Because
okay, I see how he's going with this. Okay, all right. That's how I started feeling like he was talking about this shit too. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? Because that actually is true. Based off the Sumerian way of saying it, does just mean sons of the sky. You know what I'm saying? Which is any alien being. You know what I'm saying? So that's how he sees Anunnaki. Now, there are actual Anunnaki beings that are like the black men with dreads, you know what I'm saying? And those beings are a mix of like several alien races, you know what I'm saying? And, yeah. So I see, okay, word.
You and I travel to Mars, right? And they go, hey, man, where you guys from? Who are you? Oh, we're Earthlings. We're not going to say, I'm Billy Carson from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, right? So we're going to say we're Earthlings. So, it's a generalized term. Now, because of that, I believe that there are multiple dimensions that exist in the universe. I even believe in the parallel universe and also the multiverse. I also believe that if I'm an advanced being that understands I'm living in a multidimensional reality, and I have the technology to access or find out the atomic phase structure or the atomic phase frequency of a specific dimension, if I can phase shift my atoms to that, I can probably walk right in, or maybe even get a peer in or look in. So I believe that there could be multidimensional beings that have the ability to transshift from dimension to dimension, or maybe a higher dimensional being that has the capability to walk into our dimension. Maybe even some of the paranormal activity we've heard about for over so many years, going back even thousands of years, could be multidimensional beings interacting with the third dimension.
That actually is actually true. Some paranormal phenomena is exactly what he just said.
like apparitions or paranormal activity, but it's really an advanced race of people kind of have a peek in to see what's going on here.
Yeah.
I believe that, a lot of these possibilities just exist, and our lack of understanding of who we even are in the universe and how new we are to this place puts us in a position where the ego kind of takes over and presupposes that we're the end all be all when we're actually the new kids on the block.
That really has hit me a lot since starting to listen to your content. I think that the main thing that came to my head is, damn, we are babies, and
Yes.
we really think we're grown-ups, but we're really not.
Yeah.
And specifically, there was one account that you talked about, which I'd never heard about before, surprisingly, because I do love to learn about this sort of stuff. But there was a mixed race couple that were abducted. And you
Yes.
said that they sort of spoke about something that hadn't happened yet, but that was then later proved to be true. Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah, Betty and Barney. Betty and Barney,
Betty and Barney. What type of shit?
they were, I forget the last name now.
Bro, this shit ads have been playing. Betty and Barney, my nigga. These motherfuckers were seated here for this. Like, what the fuck?
Betty and Barney, they were actually abducted. This is in, I think, the 1950s.
Nigga, their abduction was planned. In a high, like when these motherfuckers came to Earth, what's their name? Betty and who? Betty and Bobby? That's not the name, but Betty and Bobby or some shit. Betty and Bobby was like, okay, we're gonna come to Earth, become a couple, and get abducted, nigga. Cause who the fuck Betty and Bart? Like, come on now.
These were the 1960s. A real famous account, a mixed race couple. They were taken aboard a craft. They were just driving home, and this craft appeared in front of the car, and it abducted them. They lost time and everything. Under hypnosis, they began to recount what actually happened, and Betty began to talk about how they, started cutting open her dress, which the dress is actually like, it's in a museum. It's like really, damaged. You can see where the damage happened. They began to cut up her dress. They started to probe Barney as well. And what's interesting is they showed her a star system. She didn't know it was a star system. She saw dots. She said, "Where are you from?" They showed her this pattern. She reproduced that pattern for this psychotherapist who put her under this hypnosis. And when that was given to people to research, it ended up in the hands of an astronomer and a scientist. They realized it was a Zeta Reticulus constellation, and that's not the only account of these beings coming from Zeta Reticulus, which is pretty interesting, but that these beings obviously maybe had come from that constellation. So we have an account in modern times where people are abducted and they recount what these beings did to them and where they said they came from.
And at the time, from what I understand, that constellation hadn't even been sort of discovered yet.
Right, it wasn't discovered yet. We didn't discover it until later. So as it sat around for some time, and then somebody had an epiphany moment and realized, oh man, this is linking to this, and they finally merged it together and realized, wow, it's a Zeta Reticulus. So for me, it adds a lot of credibility to the story.
If we weren't created by aliens, but were tweaked to become this by aliens, then in your opinion, what is God?
First of all, I believe God is on the outside of these dimensions, on the outside of this universe. I don't believe that God is in the universe per se as a physical form being. I don't believe that God is either a man nor a woman either. I don't believe that there's a gender on this God. I think that calling God a man is probably the craziest thing I've ever heard, because we know that life comes out of a womb. But the fact that I think it's outside, it's an entity, or maybe even possibly entities, plural, on the outside of this universe.
God or source is simply just awareness. When awareness becomes aware of itself, aka when it becomes conscious, it makes this whole entire experience. The same way that with your dreams are composed of what? Awareness. When you go to sleep at night, right, and you actually like fully go unconscious, right, you don't see black, you don't see all that, you literally perceive absolutely nothing, because you become pure awareness that literally is just observing. And because you're unconscious, you're not really observing anything. That's why you just have that nothingness state. When you start to become aware of yourself, though, you either wake up to this reality or guess what? You create a dream. Inside that dream, it has a whole universe with planets, and there's people on the planet, and you interact with them, but they're all just you, and they all come from what? Your awareness. So God is not an entity or entities. God is awareness. And awareness can split itself up into several different beings. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just have to clarify that shit real quick.
Outside of all of these dimensions, and that in here, in some way, shape, or form, this God has imbued the universe with this divine energy. Divine energy that streams and vibrates every single string, which creates string theory and creates every single atom and everything that we have, this illusory of reality in this third dimension. And I truly believe that this entire universe and
y'all didn't even hear me say that shit. Fuck, God is awareness, okay? God is awareness. When awareness observes itself, aka becomes conscious, it makes this whole entire universe. You know what I'm saying? God is not an entity or entities. God is awareness, and awareness can split itself off into several different beings. The same way that when you go to sleep at night, right, you have a dream. You have a dream because when you were asleep, right, you went unconscious. You became pure awareness who's not observing anything. Therefore, you have the experience of nothing, right? As you started to observe your own awareness along the night, you eventually made a dream with a whole universe and the planet that you exist on with other people. You know what I'm saying? However, it's all just made of your awareness. So God is not an entity or entities. God is simply just awareness.
maybe even the multiverse is a gigantic matrix. We're talking about a holographic matrix of light, and we're living in a created universe.
That's facts.
Based on real science. We know it's a creation.
Facts.
The method of the creation now has also been proven that we're living in a light matrix. It's a fractal holographic matrix. This is scientifically peer-reviewed, now real science. And I don't believe that we're living in base reality. I believe that there's many levels to reality as well. And this could be just one universe of Googles of universes that exist that are created by different entities. And I believe that they're all in some way, shape, or form experiments. And what is the ultimate experiment of this particular universe? Well, because we know it's a fractal, we have to go from the large to the small and analyze what we can see on the smaller scale that represents the universe. That would be our brain. Our brain is encased in darkness. It doesn't know what's really going on out here, but it has sensory perception, smell, touch, hearing, taste, and so forth. Senses. It says to the sensory friends, hey, go out there and grab me some data so I can analyze it and figure out what's going on. So the friends go out and do everything, get this data. Now, the friends themselves, they don't know what they're collecting. They can't break the data down. They can't analyze it. All they can do is collect information and send it back to the brain. The brain takes that data and then sorts it all out and projects a hologram, and we navigate through this matrix based on a holographic projection from data collected by our sensory perception. So you take that to the bigger scale now. When we were micro, now let's go macro. The universe as a whole is a mind, right? The universe itself is a mind. And then we, human beings and cats and dogs and grass and trees and everything else, we're just a sensory perception for this mind. And it's telling us to go out and collect information. So we go out and we collect data. Just by living our natural, normal, everyday life, we're collecting data. And because consciousness is not created in the brain, it's downloaded and uploaded from the mind.
Thank you.
We're streaming down information, but we're also sending back data.
Yes, sir.
As well. It's a two-way upload, download.
Yes, sir.
And that we're collecting data 24/7.
Yeah, this nigga fucked up. He's like, oh shit, nigga, we inside of a big ass mind.
And streaming it back to the source so that the creator, the universe itself, can understand what it's like to live in the third dimension as Billy Carson, as True Geordie, as whoever. And so it's a way of subjectively living lives through trillions and Googles of entities throughout the entire universe to collect data. Now, why collect the data? What is the purpose? The purpose is to understand what it's like to live in multiple dimensions. And also, I think the purpose is to find out how long can a system take to correct itself? Because we know that light,
I think he just added that,
always outpowers darkness over time. There is a yin and a yang, but there's a cycle when light overpowers it, then there's a cycle when darkness invades it again, and there's a cycle when light overpowers it again. I believe that the true full experiment is to see how long will it take for these multiple species throughout the entire universe to figure out how to bring heaven to earth, how to become.
That, okay, there actually is some truth to that. Like the polarity experiment, that actually is a thing. However, that's just one, like, this universe that's full of all this polarity and stuff like that. It's just one universe of many, you know what I'm saying? So that is a purpose of this one universe. However, that's not the main purpose of Source manifesting itself in every single universe. You were right with the first one, though. To gain experience, yes, that is like the main shit. To simply just understand itself in all of this diversity.
The light and sustain the light and evade or put off the darkness. I think that's the ultimate experiment.
In this universe, yes.
That was fantastically put. Unbelievable, mate. That one take wonder over here. Wow, well done, mate. And I've seen you. You've also detailed the idea that we are uploading and downloading, and that's even scientific as well.
Yeah. That's right.
It's been proven. So it is fascinating when you think of how many times is mimicking this, whether it be Matrix, Star Wars, Harry Potter, any of these sort of type of movies. It always does come down to the light overpowering the darkness, and it's fascinating stuff. And I've got one more question, but yeah, I really appreciate this, mate. And my final question is, how would you like to be remembered?
Well, I would like to be remembered as a pioneer.
As that nigga.
We're all right now, you, me, everyone else, working like this, doing these podcasts and these shows and making memes and going out and speaking to public and writing books and movies and documentaries. We're all a part of the education process to help bring mankind's memory back, right? We're trying to extrapolate as much information as we can from the past, present, and the future, and put together an understanding to help raise consciousness on the planet. And I believe that we're planting seeds for trees that are going to grow, that we're never going to sit in the shade of these trees.
Facts.
But
at least not in this body, baby.
So
they should become immortal.
Real comforting fact to know that at some point in the distant future, a lot of the work that I put out now is going to have an impact 15, 20, 30, 100 generations from now, when there is a golden age and people are celebrating life and living in war-free and peace-free and everyone's loving one another, and that in some way, shape, or form, I might be slightly remembered as one of the many pioneers that helped usher mankind back towards the golden age.
It definitely feels like when you speak and
this nigga Nephilim for real.
You're talking about people like Thoth, for example. You really feel like you're paying tribute to him, and you care about it. And
you see what I'm saying? Paying tribute to Thoth, that's where it's like, ew, bro. Because, like, you talking about Thoth as a universal intelligence, or Thoth the being that's actually a demonic, alien, fake imposter nigga?
There's an emotional connection there to this person of, you know what? I know you've been forgotten about, but I'm actually trying to pay this forward and put people onto it. And it really does come across, mate. So well done.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So that was Billy Carson, Forbidden Knowledge. Do check him out.
All right, that's the end of this. How long was this shit? This video is 2 hours. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope I cleared some things up, you know what I'm saying? I fuck with Billy, but, some shit is just a little bit like, But I love you all. I'm going to catch you all. Peace out.